The power of focus. Daniel's journey to concentration. Jack was a farmer who was constantly troubled by his son, Daniel. He had only one son, and he wanted Daniel to focus and work diligently in farming so that, after Jack's time, Daniel could progress on his own. But Daniel was very restless. He couldn't focus on anything and lacked concentration, which prevented him from learning anything. This made Jack worry about his son's future. Outside their village, on a small hill, lived a man named Arthur, who spent most of his time studying the stars and the moon. He would spend hours gazing through his large telescope, observing the sky. He often forgot to eat or drink, but would sometimes make accurate weather predictions, warning the villagers in advance. In return, the villagers would provide him with daily meals and essential items, ensuring his needs were met. Jack thought that sending Daniel to Arthur might help calm his restless mind and teach him the art of concentration. So, he sent Daniel to learn the secret of focus from Arthur. When Daniel reached Arthur's house and called out to him, he received no response. He pushed the door and it creaked open. Inside, he saw Arthur peering through his telescope, writing something down. Daniel called out again, but Arthur, deeply immersed in his work, ignored him. Daniel waited for a long time. Arthur didn't move an inch, and soon, Daniel grew bored and began wandering around. As evening approached, villagers came by and left food at the door. Feeling hungry, Daniel called out to Arthur once more, but Arthur remained absorbed in his work. Daniel eventually ate the food and fell asleep right there. When he woke up the next morning, he found Arthur still engrossed in his work. This amazed Daniel, sparking his curiosity about what Arthur was doing. Questions began swirling in his mind. 3 days passed. On the third day, Arthur finally stepped away from his telescope to drink water. That's when he noticed Daniel sleeping by the door. He woke Daniel up and invited him inside. After hearing everything, Arthur said, "I will teach you concentration, but first you must complete a task for me." Daniel, overjoyed, asked eagerly, "What task do I need to do?" Arthur explained, "On the peak of that mountain, I have installed a device that researches electricity storage. It requires a special chemical to function. I prepare that chemical here. You will need to take it and carefully pour it into the device." Excited, Daniel responded, "Is that all? I can do that easily." Arthur smiled and said, "It's not as simple as you think. If even a drop of this chemical falls on you, you will be reduced to ashes instantly." After a moment of hesitation, Daniel agreed and prepared for the task. Arthur handed him a container filled with the chemical and instructed, "Once you've poured the chemical into the device, call out to me, and I will come." With great caution, Daniel began descending the hill, his eyes fixed on the container in his hands. Slowly, he made his way to the peak of the mountain and poured the chemical into the device. Then, he shouted for Arthur and sat down, relieved. When Arthur arrived, he noticed the confidence and satisfaction on Daniel's face. Arthur asked, "On your way, you crossed a river. How deep was it?" Surprised, Daniel replied, "What river? I didn't see any river." Arthur smiled and, taking Daniel along, walked back. When they reached the flowing river, Daniel was astonished. He had crossed it without even realizing it. Arthur explained, "You were so focused on your task that all you noticed was the work at hand. This is what concentration is. Thus, Arthur taught Daniel the art of concentration and showed him that through practice and mindfulness, one can train the mind to focus. Conclusion: the mind is restless and can entangle our intellect and thoughts, but our intellect remains stable. When the mind governs the intellect, it suppresses rational thoughts and leads the intellect astray. However, with a bit of practice and discipline, we can stabilize our intellect and focus our mind.